All right, I guess we are now live, hopefully. I'm trying to check on our main page as well, just making sure that it is going live right now. Um, Is it going live for everybody? Because yes, it is. Okay, perfect. So let's get started. So sorry, everyone, for the technical issue. I just want to say that we are now in 2 minutes, so that's okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Alicia, the Partnerships Manager at LTVplus. I hope everyone is ready for today's roundtable session because I think we've got some amazing experts here to discuss on the topic that I will be mentioning in a bit. So while we are giving our attendees a few more minutes to join us, let's kind of make round of an introduction from our experts here. So let's start with Ben, followed by Shawn, Gian, and GQ.
Cheers, Alicia. Thank you. Yeah, my name's Ben Wright. I'm Director of Partnerships and Business Development at Help Scout. Help Scout is a customer support tool mainly made for the SMB and mid-market, but really happy to be on and thanks for having me.
Hi, everybody. Shawn Li, VP of Partnerships at Flip. We help brands like Untuckit, Brooklyn, and GNC transform their phone support with Alexa-like voice automation. I lead all technology and channel partnerships, have also been in e-commerce myself. Really looking forward to this conversation with everyone on the panel today.
Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is John. I'm the co-founder of ShopCircle. ShopCircle, we are a leading operator of e-commerce tools. So basically, we own and operate more than 26 Shopify apps in different spaces, from referrals, reviews, tag management, store building, store design, and our tools are used by more than 80,000 Shopify merchants. Super excited to be here with you guys.
And I'm the last one. Says GQ here from LTVplus. We're a customer service outsourcing company that provides dedicated agents for e-commerce brands and SaaS businesses. Super privileged to be sharing this panel with Shawn, Jen, and Ben as well. And really excited to be discussing what's going to happen for Black Friday, Cyber Monday for this year.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us, and our viewers for taking your time out to join us this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are at. So today we're actually going to discuss more on a strategies for a successful BFCM, obviously with despite the ongoing recession. Actually, in fact, I read this article that was kind of wrote 2 years ago during pandemic, and it was about how e-commerce business can thrive during a recession. So I guess recession is not a new phenomenon, but whether it is kind of still there, and when it occurs, companies kind of go panic mode and they kind of want to go into a hibernation mood as well. So they slash operating costs or abandoning down the hatches just to survive. But let's all be real, in the history bears, let's witness to the fact that when you slow down, it leads to many of the same disruption ruling of the global market today, and businesses kind of that actually stay active during slower economies are more likely to come up or back on top when things are picking back up. So guys, if you have any question, please feel free to type them into the comment section so we can answer them later. So without further ado, let's dive into the conversation. So Ben, I would like to ask you, BFCM is super close. I know you just mentioned Halloween just kind of ended, but I would like to know, what is everyone focusing on right now as we move closer and closer to the day?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think the majority of our customers are really focused on optimizing their support solutions at the moment. What that means is, setting up automations, workflows, etc., really getting ahead of Black Friday, Cyber Monday to ensure that we have everything set up in the background, which will make things go smoothly. I think that's, and we'll get into some of the struggles and risks that people take, but certainly from our customer base at the moment, a lot of inbound questions coming in around how to optimize their Help Scout instance in order to be a bit more efficient as we approach the busy period. So that's what I would say is kind of what our focus is and our customers' focus is at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to automation, I know, Shawn, you will have something to add towards for that too, when it comes to automation.
Yeah, absolutely. So building on what Ben said, before we go to automation, customer experience is top of mind for all brands. So when they think about customer experience, first they're thinking, how are we presenting ourselves this year in a way that is supportive, in a way that is consistent? And that then portends to how they run their support operations with their team. How can they keep their team intact? We've heard stories of brands looking to onboard a large number of support agents from a provider like yourself, how then can they pair that with automation? Which brand are they looking to provide automation so that they can actually drive more loyalty, they can provide more consistent experience. So it always dovetails back to the customer is what we're hearing in and out, day in and day out.
Okay, Shawn, just to add on to your answer there, what role can automation and outsourced support BPO kind of play in this, like delivering their BFCM plans?
Yeah, that's a superb question, Alicia. One, it helps customers have a consistent and reliable experience. It is ironic when we try all as brands to acquire customers, grow our base, but the moment we gain them, we don't hold them with that same care and nurturing experience that we've acquired them with. So on the support side, that's critical. So that's one. Two, I think for teams need to feel in times like this when we're working remotely, we're stretched, that they have the support they need. And when a company puts in place or a brand puts automation in place, it tells the team, we're there to help support you. You may have to flex, and our capacity may need to respond in short spurts to increase demand, but we're there for you. We will make sure you focus on customer conversations. Automation will take care of some of the more mundane and repetitive tasks and functions. I'll spare some of the details, but truly it is a pairing that is really important to look at and have it operate together.
No, I agree. I agree that we should have something that is already in place, at least the automation side of things. And then we have the customer support side of things that is more focused on really resolving the solution that is not being able to solve, I guess, when it comes to when there's FAQs or bots and automated. So GQ, I know you're more on the BPO side. Is there any add-ons you would like to add to this?
No, I think everyone just like pretty much just shared that. One of the things that we see typically, even sometime around Q1 or Q2, it's what can we already do to address a large number of those inquiries. So just taking something as simple as where's my order. You'd be surprised that not a lot of brands automate that little simple part of it where people can pick out that information within the chatbot before that gets redirected over to an actual human agent, right? So, but besides that, some of the other things that we see as well is, based on historical data, how large of a team do you actually need during that period? Shawn talked about, like a flexible team, so to speak, right? Maybe you need to spin up 5 or 10 other agents depending on what's happening, and also are they well trained enough? So a good blend of technology to really, I don't want to say to remove a lot of the workload, but you really want to leave your team to tackle the more, let's just say, more complex inquiries that do come through. So if you don't have that set up yet, you should already do that because it's November. It's the 1st of November. Really consider that, and then also ensuring that your agents, be it part-timers that are just coming for this season, make sure they're well trained, make sure that they have their cheat sheets ready, because when the time comes, if you're running live chat or you're taking phone support, you don't really have much time to think. And so, we'll talk a little bit about the tech integrations later on as to how you can simplify that. But I think training, level of automation, and just really bracing yourself for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I think that's crucial for customer service teams.
Awesome. And Gian, what is the most, popular request you kind of get from your client related to BFCM this year? And to compare it with last year, is there anything different?
Yeah, so obviously one of the buzzwords that we have heard more and more is obviously the retention bit, right? And we can really keep hearing this from our merchants, how we can make sure that we maintain those customers, and how we make sure again we provide the best customer experience. So obviously retention is big, and obviously thanks to some of our solution, we really try to help in that journey. Another hot topic that we hear as well a lot is on pricing, and we really understand and we see more and more that our merchants are becoming more sophisticated and want to be more sophisticated when it goes to pricing. So really trying to understand what are the best tech tools that they can leverage to be very sharp on pricing. And being sharp on pricing, by the way, doesn't just mean price match, but also means understand what are, for instance, the items, the product offerings that they want to obviously feature and push in order to obviously also maintain some good level of profitability at a company level, which becomes even more important in a recession environment, obviously.
Amazing. And I think pricing is so important. I noticed that people are also obviously kind of increasing those price along the way this year, not even in the beginning, but sometimes it gets towards the end and it's getting there. And I'm also kind of curious how everything's working out for the tech side and the services side. Maybe on GQ, you want to add on to this. How are you seeing, is there any improvement when it comes to increasing the price? What are some of the, I would say, customers feel about having those increased?
That is a very, very great question. I think it's how you relay that message when it comes to price increases, right? Like, and if you're willing to kind of accommodate that, especially with people that are coming back, what kind of a deal can you work with them that kind of ease them into it, right? No one really likes a price increase. I mean, come on, we're just like, hey, the cheapest deal we can get. Well, even if we pay for affordable or like luxury items, like, we don't like to miss out on a good deal. So I think it's really just about um, how that's being relayed. Could that be done through could you find a way, like example, if you're not talking about new customers, you're talking about returning customers, especially when we talk about retentions, like what can you help do to ease that transition, I guess.
I do agree. Shawn, let's move on to the next thing, which is what are the, I would say, any bold prediction for BFCM this year in general? Besides the pricing, I guess, what else? What else are we looking at?
Yeah, two predictions. One, I see growth year on year. And obviously the number is the detail. Is it 3%? Is it 5%? Is it 10? Wish I had the crystal ball, but I do see growth in a relatively flat manner year on year. The economy, I know that did move back into a positive growth momentum, so that's helpful. We are obviously post to some extent some of the lockdowns and COVID, so I think there is a lot more, going to be more foot traffic. I was back from New York a couple of weeks ago. I was in a musical, so that's not shopping, but a similar audience, discretionary spend, and the theater was packed. So that's obviously one small anecdote, but if that is a sign of things to come, I think buyers will be back out. And the other thing the trend that I see for sure is the selling season is going to be a lot longer. I know we're talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but I can assure you, if you haven't already received SMSs from your favorite brands, you will be getting them for your loyalty, VIP, the retention point that Yan talked about. I think is so critical. Brands are using every touch point. Holiday is a great way to engage, but every touch point, every channel that matters to us, they're using it to reach out. So I see the holiday season extending all the way to December. And for that note, certainly a bit of silver lining in terms of what we can expect.
And Ben, what about the, I would say, buyer behavior? Are we impacting? Is there any impact, I would say, that you're seeing? Or, yeah, I would say the results here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you hear recession and you hear all the reports that come out about inflation. I think your initial gut reaction is to say that consumers won't spend as much. But I was talking, I think, kind of before this call, there's reporting that's come in over Halloween spending that's up. I do think we might see increased spending purely because like that benefit of trying to find a deal and finding better prices and better deals, I think is going to drive consumer spending over this Black Friday, Cyber Monday period. The other piece, which is interesting, which is kind of positioned differently to last year during, when we still had the pandemic going on, is there's more inventory as well across suppliers, which I actually think, to Shawn's point, will mean that the period is pushed on a little bit. I think we see stuff going way past, Cyber Monday, in addition to there actually being better deals and better discounts than ever before because retailers are trying to get rid of a lot of product. So I think not really a bold prediction, but I think we will see increased spending kind of based on those factors that I gave. Yeah, like I said, initial reaction I think here in recession would be it's not going to be as good, but I kind of think the opposite.
All right. And when it comes to, I guess, like buying a certain tools or tech tools during this recession itself, Jan, I want to get your point of view here because you are owning quite a few apps on your own right now. And how are you seeing the results? And is there an increase during this time? Or what are some of the realness here? I guess because it is recession. Do people think twice about purchasing, especially tech that we actually currently need?
For sure, yes, obviously, right. Like obviously, brand owners are way more. They put way more scrutiny before obviously installing new tools and obviously integrating more technologies in their tech stack. At the same time, what we are seeing clearly is a consolidation as well. So obviously, the possibility of sorry, here's some echo. Okay, the possibility basically to obviously offering a full stack. So more than one product, obviously, is something that our merchants and our brand owners they love, right? And again, why that? Because again, there are many things they have to focus, in particular during recession, right? So they have to focus obviously on maintaining on increased customer acquisition cost, on making sure that they have the right inventory. So they need to have and be efficient, let's say, in the way in which they source their tech stack. So obviously, from our side, we're seeing this consolidation, and we expect this trend to further consolidate, where merchants will tend to work with few selected high quality partners that can work on that they can work with on a specific challenges and set of needs that they want to meet. And obviously, the fact that we can provide literally a one-stop shop, a full stack, that's always something that our merchants so far they like it.
Mhm.
Alicia, one point, and I think it's kind of exactly what Jan said there, is what we're seeing from our side is a move back to tools that have everything under one roof. So Help Scout obviously is a support solution. We are seeing some customers move back to a HubSpot, for an example, because they have CRM, marketing, and support all under one roof. So I would 100% agree. The other piece that we're seeing is more of a focus on budget, longer sales cycles, right? More scrutiny into tools that are being purchased. In addition to some of our other competitors in the space that maybe are more pricey, we're seeing more movement over to a solution like Help Scout that provides, similar, if not better, feature set for a more reasonable price. So I would just kind of add on to that, because that's definitely what we're seeing from our side as well.
Fantastic. So let's all move to my great Help Scout. But I guess it's not just that. But of course, with the featurings that Help Scout has and any other platforms as well, if you see that it works, it works. And if it doesn't, I guess there is always an additional add-on to that, which means you can find an alternative. But I guess when it comes to having all these other partners here we have, they do have the features that our consumers actually really need, our clients that would need it the most. I would say brands especially. So with GQ, I do also want to ask, because you are so much more on the service side. We provide the agents, and which means we need our partners like Flip or even Shop Circle and Help Scout around here. But what happens when clients are, I guess, persistent about saying like, I can't get this particular tech stack right now just because, I don't have the budget? How do you go about, doing that? And how do we avoid and strategize helping them just even so they can have that specific tech school?
That's a great question. And I would just jump right on what Jen and Ben said just now. And that is the unification of tech. No matter what happens, you have to think about the cost. If you want to, they might say they cannot afford to switch to a certain tech stack. Of course, we'll present different alternatives. But I think the main thing to figure out is what is the opportunity cost right there, right? If you have your agents having to jump between different platforms to even like, simple things like between social media, help desks, or just understanding the customer's data when you're having that interaction. If it's not all in one place, that's just time taken up, and you really don't have that luxury when you're basically talking to a lot of people, especially during the holiday season. So that unification, that is actually what we're seeing. People are considering and weighing their options, like, okay, how much will this tech stack cost? Can we somehow work with a platform that allows us to have it all in one place? And there are some clients that are already having those conversations even prior to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So definitely, that unification is there. Yeah, that's for sure.
Mhm.
I think on top of that as well, with customer service, I think that what's interesting as well is that maybe this is not a very popular thing, but like we talked about, how do you pick strategic partners to work with stuff? We have seen certain brands, start to consolidate their customer service team as well. I think it's something that we're going to dive into later part of this roundtable. But as a result, people are maybe reallocating their internal manpower so that they can have a partner that is able to scale during this period. Because again, part of the recession talk, but it's also optimizing their costs at some level, but not really losing that quality. So that unification doesn't just apply to technology; it also applies to the agencies or the outsourcing partners that they work with.
Yeah, I do want to add on that. As a partnership myself, I have been working with so many partners here. I think brands, whenever you need to kind of look for a specific tool, ask the people that you're working with, especially any tech tools or services agencies that you're working with, to see if they know of that partner. Because at some point you'll get an easier path where I guess a direction where if you would like a demo call, that would be easier access, or perhaps a discount. That is like one of the few things that I feel that can benefit them during this time of the year, and I think that would also help you save a little bit of money during this time. So yeah, let's move into the juicy part of things, which is I guess, how do you think the ongoing global recession will kind of affect BFCM during this time of year? And I'm kind of like putting this here is because, we have pandemic 2 years ago and like, I guess 3 years ago. And during those 2 years, people are worried about, oh shit, like, what do? I don't even know if I can say that. So sorry. But anyways, yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. But yes, 2 years ago. And, I would say that the prices, I would say the revenue that we've been generating was way higher than expected than any other year that you've been looking at. So although I would say last year was a little lower than the year before, but it wasn't as much as we can say it is. So I'm kind of curious, that because the revenue kind of dropped slightly for both Black Friday and Cyber Monday as compared to 2020, what do you think the reason is for this, Shawn?
I think it's less of a drop. It's more of two things, more of a slowing down versus expectations. So I'll just put the names out there, and I'm sure Yan will have thoughts as well. If you go with some of the bellwethers of online retail, you look at Shopify or you look at Amazon, and I happen to look at some of the reports before this, their earnings beat expectations. That's great. Maybe people don't care about earnings, but some do. Second, revenues, Shopify beat expectations. Amazon missed by a 0.29%. We're talking about a 0.29%. In the scheme of things, that does not change my perspective, certainly an opinion, happy to share. It does not change the trajectory and the consumer behavior towards e-commerce, period. Very often the market has factored in all these into expectations. So to me, that doesn't really change. So online shopping's been established. And in fact, I would argue that because of COVID, we did not have a choice. For those who did not adopt e-commerce, they've already moved into that as their starting point. So now what you're going to see, and I know people are a little averse to calling it omnichannel or multi-channel, let's just call it foot traffic in stores and buying online. It's now the norm. So I think folks will actually have to offer both. And then back to your point, Alicia, in terms of expectations and forecasts, it's tough. Ben shared with us about the earlier Halloween insights. When I looked at the NRF, National Retail Foundation, and what they're thinking, they're forecasting a growth, right? Growth maybe less than the 14+% in the previous year, but 11 to 13% is not shabby. Even if it lands on the lower side, 5 to 10%, it is still growth. It is not the spurt that we saw coming out of the pandemic. So just to put things in perspective, I'll just pause there, but that's my immediate thought about this.
All right. And John, what would you add on to this?
No, I mean, this is music for my ears, Shawn, and I'm 100%, aligned, obviously, by being also very exposed and very close, obviously, to the Shopify ecosystem. And I think anyone, and again, we're also very close to, investors and e-commerce experts that was expecting to maintain the same level of growth during pandemic was just pure madness. It was completely impossible. We are just simply back to the previous solid growth trajectory that we had before pandemic, and we are huge believer, as I think everyone here, that obviously e-commerce is a secular trend, and definitely will continue. So again, I would expect the growth curve to get to this 20-25% year over year. I'm pretty also aligned, obviously, on what the guys said before around Black Friday, Cyber Monday this year. I think volume will not drop, probably will be somehow stable / slightly growing. I would expect, without seeing anything extreme that compared to what we've seen in during pandemic. And so yeah, like I think the key point of difference, and I think what really brands have to be careful on is really, again, to provide the best experience. Because what I really believe is that consumers will definitely put more scrutiny before acquiring anything, and I think that's the most important thing. So whether probably last year or the years before, loyalty was the number one driver. So as long as you are a loyal customer, like you build that loyalty to your customers, that was more than enough to basically make sure that you were winning during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Probably that's not enough. So obviously loyalty will be still fundamental, but needs to be something else. And again, obviously, I'm again referring to pricing, because I really think that's going to be an important element for this Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because for sure, again, as part of the scrutiny that consumer will do, obviously they will also check prices in other platforms, in other competitors' website, and they will do it for sure. So obviously being very sharp on that, I think it will definitely help.
Speaking about loyalty, I think that's a GQ's forte as well. We want to keep our, customer, especially existing customer, happy, and also the new ones. How are we doing that when it comes to an agent point of view?
One thing that this will pertain more to, okay, we can break this down into two parts. So let's talk about single purchases. We talk about cart abandonment. Well, I guess most brands would have already implemented some level of cart abandonment recovery. That's something, right? We talk about for new customers, or even retaining current customers. But I think that one that we may not have really discussed is also, what about subscription businesses, right? We're talking about e-commerce with subscription boxes. So, it's interesting because so recently was just at although it's not e-commerce focused, but we were at SaaS Talk, and we had a chance to catch up with actually some e-commerce brands that were there as well. And I think retention is, or rather involuntary churn, is one important bit where not every person is actually having some level of dunning software in place, right? So you might be working with the different payment processors that have some basic level of dunning. Have you considered working with an automation or a tool that allows you to recover more payments for you, right? Because like we talk about, like I agree that between 2020 2020 there was a crazy spike. I will not use any funky words, but 2021 was when the market started to cool down and we started to see the usual growth rate. So everyone has already shared that. I'm not going to dive into that again. But on the other side, what are you doing to reduce your involuntary churn for a start? Are you doing anything there at all? And sometimes brand merchants don't actively think of that. So that's one. And if you have automated dunning in place, great. What about having someone check in with your customers, with regards to their subscriptions? Why, perhaps have they not updated their credit cards? That could be one. Or number two, they might just have forgotten about the subscription box. And once you've established contact at that point, that's a really good time to have that conversation and figure out what the right subscription package might be for them at this point, because your goal is to help them perhaps tide over into 2023 if the recession is affecting them at some level, or rather this recession talk is affecting them at some level, right? So I think that looking at how you can work with how you can reduce your involuntary churn, that's something that subscription businesses should be actively thinking about proactively.
Yeah. And I think subscription is coming to a topic. It's getting bigger and bigger, but we can save that for a next one in the future or next year. So yeah, I think that can be a discussion for the next one. And Ben, I think we were asking in the beginning was that or at least what are we doing when it comes to the BFCM season, and it's also kind of recession at this point. But I want to know if you notice any sort of pattern from your client that you sort of observed this year.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of answer that by following on from what a couple of the people have said around customer experience. And the reason I say that actually goes back to, I think, what Shawn mentioned around, like, during the recession, we didn't have a choice. During the pandemic, we didn't have a choice. We had to go online. And a lot of people became more literate in buying things online. Because of that, I think there's an expectation for consumers now that their experience needs to be optimal. And what I mean by that is, like, I think there's a trend of just, hey, how much more new business can we get during this period, instead of thinking, how can we also provide best-in-class customer experience, which is going to make them repeat customers, right? And I think that repeat customer piece is one that a lot more brands are focused on. and really, I think needs to be a focus for a lot more brands going into this period. I started off by saying, from a Help Scout perspective, what we're seeing is a lot more focus on automations, workflows, a lot more things to actually make the support experience more optimal for customers, right? GQ mentioned at the start, hey, if you have a customer write in with the subject line refund, automate that experience. You don't need somebody to go in with simple requests and have somebody type out the response, right? Try and make your support motion a lot more efficient. Use maybe less employees to do that, which makes you a more profitable brand and will make you have a more profitable Black Friday, Cyber Monday experience as well. So I think that's the trend we're seeing is, hey, more focus on customer experience all up, but also how can we automate and optimize that customer experience through things like workflows.
Very interesting. And Gian, is there anything that you guys are also sort of working on in terms of like your tools? Is there sort of a workflow that it needs to be added as well? And in addition to, I guess, tips for brands to kind of include during this BFCM?
Yeah, obviously, we keep working. In particular, I'm thinking about our referral app. Conjure Referral obviously is one of the most well-known app in the referral space. And again, we obviously support a lot brands, in particular in this phase, to really, get their tools up and running. And that's something that is fundamental. So really, again, I'm going back to also the point that Ben raised, really also giving to our merchants the best experience when it goes to onboarding on some of these apps is fundamental, right? And we see this more and more. We have doubled down that. We have more, support that we can give to our merchants, and obviously our merchants, they love that, right? Really having like the let's say the package already built, ready to go with no major pain from their side when it goes to installation and setup and so on and so forth. So definitely that's also the direction that we are seeing. Last point that I want to mention is slightly a bit unrelated to the tech side, but definitely it's a trend that we are seeing as well, is obviously some of the brands, and they're already expecting, they're looking at what's going to happen next. Some of the brands will definitely do very well, but there will also be some brands that obviously will struggle a little bit more. And so we are seeing more and more requests, and that's why we also partner with a couple of providers when it goes to non-dilutive forms of funding. And I think that's something that is important as well, in particular in this recession context, right? So basically, again, some of the brands will require some additional cash basically to run some of their operations, and again, either run their operations or just to really capitalize on the wins that they have achieved, and again also cope with the increased customer acquisition cost. And obviously we all know that there are different ways in which obviously these brands will raise capital, from institutional, more business angel, equity, and so on and so forth, to the non-dilutive forms. And obviously there are hundreds of players out there, and I'm not like we're not exposed to like we're not a Shop Circle. We don't have a specific player doing that. We partner with Wayflyer and a couple of others. But long story short, I think that's one of the angle as well that we are seeing, and also helping these brands not only on the tech side, but as well as, again, back to the point, Alicia, that you mentioned before, right, to really build that network of different parties that can really support the brands along their journey in this challenging environment. And obviously, again, funding is also one of the things that I believe it's pretty important.
Oh yes, funding. And I think maybe this is a little out of topic, but because it is kind of similar, you do kind of acquire apps as well in the Shopify space. Is there a specific kind of like I would say things that you look for when you acquire a certain app?
Yeah, obviously. And as you correctly mentioned, definitely, yeah, we do operate 26 tools, but the starting point is that we acquire these tools. Yeah, absolutely. For us, what is really important, again, it goes back to the point on more tricky market condition. Obviously, we very like profitable apps and businesses, right? This is one of the key parameters that we look at when due diligencing new acquisition for apps, obviously for e-commerce tools. So obviously profitability is becoming more and more important, together with some level of growth, obviously. But as we already pointed out, obviously this year we are not expecting the same growth rate of some of the tools that they had during pandemic, right? So yeah, profit is key. Some level of growth is fundamental, and last but not least, obviously we want to buy great tech and great technologies and obviously also with great teams that want to join us after we acquire them.
Of course. And I guess we shouldn't be shaming this down as well, because I think Shop Circle did a great job. You guys have been active during this time of the year, even if it's like a slow year, but you guys are making it work. And then you come back up like, wow, it's like a lot of booms around. But speaking about tech, I guess, Shawn, this is a question for you. How does technology and tech providers like yourself empower brands to execute a strong BFCM during this time?
Absolutely. My answer is it helps brands acquire customers. We all agree. It's a great time to acquire customers, to play offense. I think we get that. But more importantly, this is the on-ramp to engaging the customer through their life cycle. What I mean by that is basically a customer experience event that really matters. So if you offer as a brand a differentiated experience for existing customers, or like Yan mentioned, loyal customers, customers who you know their LTV will grow, you're starting to message, you're starting to communicate, you are setting expectations with them using automation, using messaging tools. When they come in, they're going to have a better, consistent experience. They're going to stay longer, spend more. And this Black Friday won't just be an addition of new customers. You will be enriching your existing customer dollars. So I think that's pretty critical. To your point about automation, the word I would think of is we've seen clearly the winning brands define the success scope. By that, I mean automation cannot be a broad palette or a broad paintbrush and say, we're going to automate everything. That's not quite the level of specificity we're talking about. We see brands being very precise. We have a clear brand here. This is for a very digitally focused audience. We're going to apply automation to make the SLAs a little better, to make responses better. They're reaching out digitally. They're reaching out via voice, whatever their channel. We're going to meet them there. So expectations being met, availability, that consistency. So that, along with the acquisition piece, is what we're seeing some of the best brands, right? Brands that double, triple, 10x their growth. They are thinking about that. And of course, for all of us as a consumer, no surprises. Some of these brands have also said we encourage everybody to shop early. That way they can play the experience out a little longer. That way they can have more touch points with customers. And I as a consumer as well, will be looking out for brands. How consistent are they in their interaction with me? Because truly it is a sum of 1,000. We made a brand is a sum of 1,000 interactions. These 5 or 6 that I encounter during this period will determine how I evolve my interaction with the brand. That's the little bit more about that, and how automation and the scope of success being a little more precise. What brand, what line of business, that does matter for the brands we chat with.
Alicia, just one point to add, because I love the point that Shawn made there in terms of a lot of what I've said is, hey, let's set up workflows, let's automate some of this stuff. At Help Scout, we're all about having the human interaction or human conversation still as well, which is still truly important to a good customer experience. I think one anecdotal story, Chewy, the dog brand, for me, offers one of the best customer experiences in the whole of anybody, really, software, e-com, whatever. And they do that because they really focus on the human interaction. So I think to piggyback off Shawn's point, yes, we are seeing customers come to us and say, like, how do we set up workflows? How do we make things more efficient? But ultimately, there still needs to be that layer of human interaction put into your support and your customer experience during this time. I mean, there's a lot of competition in the e-com space, right? A lot of competition. And I think the brands that are going to win out from a support and experience perspective will have both of those pieces, automation and the human experience, kind of intertwined together. So I love what Shawn said. And that was just another thought I had around, a great experience I've had and how I think they layer both of those things together.
Oh, yes. I think human touches. I was just recently, or earlier today, I was seeing someone posting about how during this time of the year, there's also a lot of like automation going on that can go wrong because you're just posting a bunch of discount code out there just to get people to buy something. But is it really something that we as a consumer, that's what we want to see for our brands out there? So I think human touches, this is like such a GQ thing as well, LTVplus in general. I would also kind of put this question out, like, how would you scale to maintain high level of customer support, I guess, during this seasonal boom, GQ?
This is a mixture. I'm going to sound like a parrot now, repeating repeating what I'm saying, but this is going to be a mixture of not automation. I mean, we think about automation. Well, workflows are one of them, right? Like figuring out, and also figuring out what sort of something as simple as what sort of macro templates or canned responses can you set up in place so that there's enough room for agents to personalize those messages. So no one wants to see the same message being sent to them over and over again, unless it's a chatbot. But could you come up with the framework so that people can fill up the blanks and have those messages set? So something what I call like mass personalization, if that's even possible, right? Because you're talking to so many different people, especially during the holiday seasons, not even outside of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Because if you're a store that thrives during Valentine's Day, that's going to be different, right? But really creating that framework, creating those templates that allow your agents to, I would say, freestyle. And that also goes back to the technology unification part of it. If you have everything in one place, you're pulling in data from Shopify all into your contact center, where you understand, okay, for example, this person has actually reached out to us on Facebook, then moved on to, I don't know, back to Instagram, and then came on chat and then email. You see all that, and you understand this person has not had their ticket resolved yet. What's going on? When you address those contact points and you tell that person to say, let's say the customer is called Jane or John or whatever, you get, they appreciate that you actually saw that experience, like that journey happen, and they're like, hey, let me solve this for you now, instead of having you bounce around different channels before coming to the resolution. And on top of that is also understanding their buying behavior, right? One point would be, for example, if they have a subscription box that they're going for, or any certain products, and you saw that they purchased a certain flavor. Let's just say we're talking about, I like to talk about protein bars or whatever else, but you have a certain flavor that they used to buy, and you're just launching something new, or that they didn't really like this bar before. What are some things that you can suggest that will complement the product usage well? It could be something as simple as accessories, additional food supplements, whatever, right? Depending on the industry that you're working with. So I think that having your tech stack in one place, that will help you deliver that high quality of customer experience during, especially busy periods, automations that we talked about, self-service, because I think that when you create the ability for customers to experience it at their own preference, so to speak, that would be the best. Because some people don't want to hit up chat. I go to your site, hey, don't talk to me. I'll prefer to use self-service. That's fine, but don't talk to me, and that's it. But some people are like, oh, I go in there, the first thing I do is I want to hit you up on chat and get all my inquiries resolved. So there are different types of buyers. You have to prepare for that. And finally, of course, when you have these peak periods, so to speak, is your team right staffed? Do you have the right amount of people? If not, consider getting some people that will be trained for that short period of time to be working with, to work for you, or you could be working with outsourcing partners like LTVplus. Different ways to go about it, but you will still need to consider what type of team you'll have in place during this period.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's so funny. I was just purchasing this ointment for my hair recently, and their applicator was kind of broken. So I kind of messaged them on Instagram, because that's the only place I can do the customer support side of things with them. And it was a very quick response, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll get you a new one, and I'll send you a new one instantly. And so funny enough, I just had to show them a video, and that's all. And they were kind of like, because they're not a bot, they're human. They're still very small in that sense, and they're actually operating in the UK. Great kind of brand, I would say. And they sent it I think within less than a week, I got it. But unfortunately, I didn't get that new bottle because somebody stole it around this area. I'm not sure who wants to get a package, but so I'm like, I feel like at the end of the day, I love the customer service and everything else. They actually made it through my door, but I didn't get it. And at the end, as a consumer, I will still support. I will still continue to support this brand no matter what, because it really helps my hair. And I guess it's gone now. Whoever take it. And I thought that was a very interesting experience. And I love a human touch. In any way, I love a human touch. And another case of scenario was Instacart. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. I think anyone who lives in America actually knows Instacart. You kind of purchase Target, anything else that you want, more or less groceries, you can actually reach out to them. I think they're I don't know. As a consumer myself, I think I'm the worst customer for them, because I reach out to them consistently, because there's always a problem. I need a refund, or my things are not here, it didn't arrive, and I need to speak to an agent. A lot of time they have a proper automated kind of messaging for you first, and then they get to the agent. And I know the agent loves to also do selling things and they kind of upsell you. And how do you guys think about that? Like, honestly, in a very open book, like when they do that, is that actually a normal thing for an agent to kind of upsell certain things, like, oh no, just use our subscription? I know, GQ, you talk about subscription a lot on this. What do you think? Is that actually something that agents should be doing when consumer are already not happy and they want their refund back, or they need something to be solved at this point?
Well, I think that's just like you need to read the room, right? So I mean, like upselling at the wrong point, I think that's just bad. There are opportunities to upsell or even, I wouldn't say downsell. Now that sounds bad, and like maybe it's, I wouldn't call it bad advice, but you want to offer the right product, and sometimes that means that you're selling a product that's less than its original worth, but that means that the customer will come back because they will have a great experience. That's what they're looking for. You're looking at the overall LTV. You're not looking at the instant purchase. But going back to your point, no, I don't think that's a great time to upsell. I think that yes, agents, when there are opportunities, that's what they're there for, right? Yes, we're there to provide great customer support. There we go. And I think Paul Wilson, I just saw that come through. If it helps the customer, then yes, but reading the room and setting sensible KPIs to the agents. Exactly. That's exactly it. You don't just like randomly, don't be a hard seller. No one likes people to hard sell, in this day and age. Like, you're just there to help. And I think with that approach, understanding what scenarios are appropriate to, offer different kinds of subscription packages or different kinds of products, that makes more sense. Because, again, one thing that we strongly believe in is that your contact center is a profit center. So
Yep.
enable them that way, and ensure that they can actually read the room right and not pitch an upsell at the wrong time.
Don't do that during BFCM, guys. It is already a discounted kind of season, and if for you to keep doing that, it would kind of lose a consumer. And but yeah, I think that's one thing. But yeah, we have actually 14 minutes left. So guys, if you have any questions, please fill in the chat, and of course we will answer them in any case. But of course, you can also reach out to Shawn, Gian, Ben, and GQ individually. They'll respond to you no matter what. And let's get into the next thing. I think it's very, very similar to most of our conversation right here, right now. But I want to ask is, like, one thing you think that the e-commerce brands should do to have a successful BFCM if there is an ongoing recession right now. I know we've already kind of drill down all the topics, but more or less, like, what should they be preparing right now at this point, because it is coming. I think I just saw a newsletter yesterday. It says that it is in 25 more days or something like that, or was that Christmas? I really don't know, but it shouldn't. But yeah, I feel like I'm pressuring myself for these brands as well. Like, what should they be doing? Shawn, what do you think? I know you will say shop early, but what else should they be preparing at this point?
Yeah, I'll try and speak faster. I wanted to respond to what GQ mentioned earlier. As brands, you want to be a guide for your customer, because ultimately this stage is about you, and yet it's not about you. It is about the customer, as we all can attest to. So if I think about that, there are three things I think. Availability. Alicia, you appreciated when the brand was available for you. Imagine if you called or emailed or texted and they said, we'll see you tomorrow. That does not help you. So basic level of hierarchy is the availability. And secondly, I think validation is important. You had an applicator that was damaged, that was lost. We acknowledge that. I think that validation. And lastly, obviously, is resolution. Unfortunately, in your case, somebody hightailed and moved away with your applicator item, but the resolution is important. So meeting them when customers reach out, I would encourage brands right now, this is your 100% engagement window. If customers are reaching out, whether with inquiries on the purchase side, on the support side, the moment you engage them, that starts the relationship and the engagement. So 100% engagement. How you validate and resolve then becomes the advice that I would say around the customer experience, to really prepare and deliver consistency. That's one, in terms of obviously your online experience. You have in-store. We support many brands that clearly have an in-store. So there's a little bit of the word used, headless commerce, right? They have an experience in stores. How consistent is that? For one of our customers, Untuckit, as I wear their gear, as I walk into an Untuckit wear store in California, or I shop online, how does that support my different purchase pattern? I think that's really important. Because I, as a consumer, don't think about, I'm going into a store, the experience is better or less than my online experience. I expect the same interaction there as well. So that consistency, meeting them there, validating them, I think this becomes key, not only for Black Friday to be successful, but our brands that are listening want to be successful next year and throughout the customer's life cycle. So that is the bigger prize they stand to gain.
Ben, do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, I would just, again, I've said customer experience a ton here, but I think if you're an e-commerce brand and you haven't done things such as like, scale up your support function to deal with the demand, you haven't taken a look at your tech stack, go and see Gian. I'm sure he's got a few apps that can optimize the customer experience for sure. But all of these things that probably honestly should have been done a month, 2 months ago, if you're at this period now and you still haven't optimized, you still haven't taken a look at your tech stack, you still haven't mapped out how your customer journey is going to look during that period, I would do it now to be candid. Again, if you haven't got a support tool, Help Scout's a great one. There are other options out there, obviously, but technology, I think, can fill in some of the gaps and create a more optimized customer experience. So that would just be my advice to any brand that is watching this that hasn't figured out the experience and support side of the house. I would do so now. And again, really take a hard look at your tech stack in doing that as well.
Yeah, if I can, just on this point, I think we are seeing some of our brands that are a bit scared, obviously, because, they read on the news, they are, after a month and month of growth during pandemic, they don't know what's going to happen next. So there is a bit of, obviously, this sentiment for me. And again, that's very linked to what Ben mentioned. For brands owner, feel free to talk to your tech providers and really open up, because probably, again, the challenges that we are seeing across 100 brands, they are the same that you are facing at the moment, and we try to help and solve some of these problems. So really, I think that the most important thing is really having some very open and transparent discussions with your both tech partners, customer support partners, because again, it's a volume game. Like, again, it's very likely that your problems are the ones that other million of brands are also facing. So this is my recommendation. Feel free to reach out, the support of your app providers, and they're likely to be able to help you as well for the specific challenges that you're facing at the moment.
And Gian, because you said like you have like 26 other apps right now, and what are some of the tech stack? Maybe because Shop Circle is such a huge, it's just one name of all the 26. But what are some of the tech stacks you can kind of include during this time? And I guess people can also kind of look into it.
Yeah, obviously. So we have a couple of, our portfolio is kind of divided into big blocks. Let's say the first are what we call kind of utility apps. These are must-have apps, right? So we have some great apps when it goes to store building, store design, thinking about the portfolio from all caps. And then the second big category, which is always something very relevant for this season, are what we call, marketing conversion apps. So we have an amazing app in the space of reviews, which is called Opinio. Opinio does imports reviews from Amazon, AliExpress, eBay into Shopify, then does review syndications, more reviews. So very relevant as well to obviously engage with your Black Friday, Cyber Monday customer, improve conversion. I mentioned before, very relevant, our referral app, which I think is really a must-have app in this space, really, and really to build a customizable referral program, which is something that I really believe we've seen so many successful brands obviously using it. So yeah, and then obviously we also have an amazing mobile app builder from Hullcaps, and again, very relevant to go back to the point about really superior customer experiences, and which is fundamental in this season. So again, that's another tool, very, I think, kind of fundamental for this season.
Oh, I love a referral tool. Like, I love that. As a consumer myself, I don't have that installed. Of course, whenever a brand does that, I love to refer, because of course you get money out of it, or any sort of bonus discount. And then when you share it to someone else, they also get. So you get to share your brand. I think that's one thing that brands should also continue looking into that. And of course, with any help, that means there's the agents, that's the automation that can help anyone with anything when it comes to this kind of conversation. So let's get into more, like, I guess, personalized things. I know GQ loves more on the personalization when it comes to bringing into the successful BFCM. Anything to add on that?
Personalization. Well, I think whatever that we discussed today, I think that's really a lot. I mean, Shawn, Ben, Jen have really given so much great insights, and I think at the end of the day, unify. Set up your team for success, train them well, prep your stuff, and Also, have a backup team, right? Really get the right number of people, and maybe even have some people on standby, because it's better to kind of overestimate a little bit just to make sure, because you don't know what's going to happen, right? So yeah, I would say text that, get that unit, get that connected if you haven't done so already. I think it's rare these days, but you never know. And also for those for subscription businesses, this is probably long term, not just Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but really consider what you're doing for dunning. If you don't have any automation in place, there are plenty of great tools out there in the market, like Trendbuster, for example. Go consider that. Yeah.
All right, guys, we are getting to almost to the end, and we actually have a bonus tips from these experts. So I guess you have to like endure and just enjoy this last moment with them. I'm pretty sure you guys have fun. If you have, of course, like I said, any question, please feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, you can reach out to them individually. So yeah, I would say the last reminder and bonus tips from GQ. Do you have anything that you would like to share?
No, I think that's about it. And never forget. Okay, well, we talked about personalization. Really, don't forget to do that. Like, yeah, I cannot stress that enough. Make it, even if you're like you're setting up automations everywhere and you have a lot of canned responses to work through. Make the effort to have your agents really personalize the responses. It goes a very, very, very long way.
Awesome. Gian, what do you have a bonus tips for you?
So for me, it's really be bold on pricing. So don't be tend to like reprice the day of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but do your homework before that. And as part of your homework, also take into account, what are profitability level at a single product. So really pick up the right pricing, and there are so many great tools that allow you to do that. But don't do it last minute. I think that would be the very bad mistake.
That's actually interesting. So when would you kind of like, I guess, recommend them to do in terms of the price changes? When would be the best time to do it?
No, obviously price changes should be done somehow, close to the time, but preparation on what's gonna be the actual my deal price. You should do it before that, and you should look. There are different. As I said, there are some great tools that allow you to see, historic data, as well as understanding, what are likely your competitors to price that specific item. So I think there is lots of preparation. For instance, like take a look at our friends at Presync on the pricing side. They're great, and I think that's something that they should look before than the day.
Awesome. Shawn, is there anything you would like to add here?
Yeah, sure. The first one, when you think about customer experience, break it down into a way that translates into driving long-term value, lifetime value. So setting expectations with customers, the experience, the promise dates, these are basics. How do you deliver and engage? Do not run from your customers. This is the point, the best window to engage when they're interested, it is relevant, and they're looking to experience your brand. Second thing, which I love how Yan viewed it, ask your partners how you can do more with less. We are both consumers, but we're also buyers or users of software. So ask your providers, what can be done in this period? How can we do that? You're not trying to make a major decision for next year. You're looking to best support your team. And if your team is supported and well equipped with these tools, you can then provide that customer experience that we're talking about. You can then win on those fronts that we're talking about. So have those conversations as well. Those are the two things I would leave.
Awesome. Finally, Ben, do you have anything to add here?
I start and I'll end it. Hopefully I don't end it too badly. No, I just think I would just end with focus on customer experience. Don't just focus on new customer acquisition. Nice and simple.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And yeah, I just realized we were 2 minutes late earlier. That's why we're kind of ending on time right now. And I don't want to waste anybody else's time. So I would like to say, thank you so much, guys, for joining us, and everyone else who is viewing and tuning in for the last 1 hour. I think there was a good amount of viewers. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys staying till the end and supporting this webinar, or I would say roundtable. I don't really like webinar. I like roundtable discussion. So please find them on LinkedIn. We have Shawn, GQ, Gian, and Ben. Find them, and yeah, let's all get connected. Thank you so much, guys, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.
Bye. Likewise.
Take care.